So it's a little bit of a rainy day today, so I don't want to do any sealant outside, but I've got this project in the garage here. I've already started blowing this out. So these cracks have turned out pretty nicely. Just blowing them out. A lot of sawdust in there. I've got a big loose chunk right here I can pull out. And then there's all the sawdust that I'll blow out of here. So that's a pretty good sized crack in the garage. Most of the other cracks in here are pretty small and may or may not take very much of this sealant. So we'll see what we can get done in the weather. Well, while the weather's not so nice. This area has been patched by a previous owner and it seems to be working okay. The concrete has lifted here, so there's a bit of a high spot throughout the whole garage. There's a high spot down the middle here, but that seems not really moving or opening and closing. What I've got is I've got a pair of gloves, some safety glasses. When we did the tile in our bathroom, we used this diamond plated grinder thing, so that should work pretty well. Okay, well I got this all prepped out. I'm just going to do this one area. This crack's gotten quite a bit larger as I've started to dig into it. There was a lot of, like over here, there's a lot of pushed in dirt that's kind of in those places. So I'm just going to do this one area. As I've started going down this crack, you can see it doesn't look that bad, and as I've started pushing debris out of it, it's opened up a little bit. So a little larger than it looked like initially, but this will be a good crack to fill. I got this ground down. Spent a little more time on grinding to take out the humps. This concrete's far from level. Probably can't see it in the camera, but right here I've got a dip, and then this comes up and then it dips back down. So not exactly level over here, but leveled it out as best I could, especially where the seam's going to be at. So last time I was using this, I ended up putting a screw in here to see how that worked out. This stuff's very rubbery, and as you can see I've only got about an inch of depth left, so we'll take the screw out and see if we can reuse this. If not, we'll open up a new tube and not much is lost there. So we still got some liquid in there. Well, that worked out pretty well. And these joints are a little bit smaller than the one outside, so I'm going to end up cutting the tip on the next tube a little bit smaller to accommodate for that, just make it a little easier to put in the cracks. Keep things as clean as possible. Okay, I think I'm basically done in here for the day. This crack right here has been taken a lot. I think it's kind of just pushing into here. I don't want to do this one yet. Probably take apart this outlet box and just make sure that it doesn't fill that full of caulk. But yeah, I got all this done. So I'll let this cure and then I can put on my tools and stuff back. Put my toolbox back there. So this portion I went through quite a bit. I've got quite a bit left over on this one, maybe only a quarter used, but I used 7 full tubes for this length. Okay, so I measured it out. I've got about 16 feet that I just did, so that comes out to be a little over 2 feet per bottle. And this section right here probably used the least. I probably went 4 or 5 feet per tube, and then this section is really what ate most of it. That's a pretty deep crack. So that caulk is probably 1/8 inch wide approximately, and then up to 4 inches in depth going down. So that really ate a lot of caulk. Really hard to get any type of backer rod or anything down in there, so kind of just have to deal with that. It used a lot, but I'm really content with this and really happy with how it turned out. Okay, well, it's been at least 24 hours since I have done this. Just wanted to show you how things turned out. This area continued to settle. Everything else is pretty firmed up. Obviously these larger areas are a little bit soft. And then this area kind of surprised me. We've still got some pretty deep. This is probably a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch down. And then these probably go down upwards of 1 inch or even beyond on the depths of these. So a lot of this continued to sink after we were done. Another tip that I would say, on the one outside, I tried to get all of the sealant inside the seam, and it kind of seems to fill up and then bulge over and kind of mound up. And in this one I decided, well, maybe if I kind of dip the caulking on the edges, then it will kind of make more of a valley and kind of seal in that joint. And what it ended up doing is just making a kind of a ridge on the outside, and then it fell in the holes. Even like for here, you can see quite a bit has stuck to the edges here and then has gone in the holes. So I think if I were to do it again, I would try to keep everything in the hole as best as possible and kind of let it fill up and exceed. But this section, probably going to need another tube or so, and I'll show you kind of what I think might have happened and why this has settled so much. So here's a quick drawing to depict what I am speculating might have happened. So here's our crack, obviously the concrete, and if either one of these slabs is lifted, there could be a potential void underneath. So as I'm continuing to fill this up, all that fluid could be running underneath here, and that's where all this is lost. Now that this is sealed up and I've kind of got like a little valley in there, it's deeper, I think maybe perhaps it would have been better to do an initial application, kind of let it seal in, and hopefully down in the bottom it's tight enough to where it actually seals pretty thoroughly, and then all I have to do is fill up this void. Whereas in this situation I continue to add more and more and more, and it kept filling this bottom layer. So I think if I were to do it again, I might instead just go over the seam a couple times and then let this whole thing settle, and then come back through a day or two later and actually fill up that top half, hoping that no more continuous cracks went all the way through the whole slab. So I've just got one last step in trial and airing out this concrete gap and concrete filler, and that's in the driveway. I want to use it where the natural seams are, not where the up to date. I've just done the broken and cracked sections, and I want to do the actual joints that had 1x4s in them. I want to put some backer rod in there and put the sealant on top of the backer rod, and we'll see how that turns out. That's the next area I want to try this out at.